I don't say hate watch, but like make fun of it, laugh. You know what? Make a drinking game out of it. If you're plastered while watching this, you're probably gonna have a much better time.
Just give us a little time.
5 people are dead. 5 people.
Get away from him right now! Right now! He's dangerous!
I swear, every year without fail, why is it always the first movie of the year, huh? And today we have Founders Day. Again, I've fallen so far behind, but I got reviews coming out. I gotta knock out the rest of my 2023 review backlog, which includes some summer and fall releases from last year, but I'm gonna knock them out because I'm the movie man, you gotta do it. But I want to start the catch-ups with a couple reviews back-to-back that are both early access reviews that I got through Regal and their mystery movie program. They've already done 2 for the year, one on New Year's Day, and then one on I think it was just like a couple days ago from when I'm recording this. It's the only way that I found out about this movie. I didn't even know it was coming out. It surprised us all when we went to go see it in the theaters. We technically saw it almost a full month before it came out, but yeah, one of the first people in the country to see Founders Day. And boy, let me tell you, I don't know if it's just if this is a coincidence. It's not really a specific holiday, but I feel like between the tail end of last year and even the beginning of this year, we've been getting some back-to-back like seasonal holiday films. I reviewed Thanksgiving, which is actually really good, and I called that a silly seasonal slasher. And I just feel like between that and this, which is kind of like, might as well be like a Columbus Day, an election day thing, basically. And then even with It's a Wonderful Knife, there's just been a lot of, I mean, every year there's always holiday films, new and old, right? But it seems like they've been specifically slasher-based holiday or holiday-adjacent films, and this is no exception. Director of Founders Day is an Eric Bloomquist, who's actually an actor and director. Aside from this, the last most recent film he did was something called Intermedium. Also another one called She Came from the Woods. And then as an actor, he's been in a mix of, I don't want to be rude or mean, but like, a lot of the movies that I saw on his IMDb weren't well rated, so maybe it's just kind of that like level of like B-movie kind of cinema Hollywood angle. I don't know. As long as he's having fun, that's what matters. Because he also cast himself in this movie. And the cast, there's some I vaguely feel like I've seen them before, but most of them are a bunch of people that I'm like, I don't know who these kids are. There are a couple veterans. I think some guy, something Russ or what have you. There's a couple of veteran actors that are in this film that you might recognize. I take it back. It was cool seeing Catherine Curtin. Recognized her immediately from her role in Orange is the New Black. Where to start with this movie? I almost didn't want to review it, but I gotta say something. It's one of those movies like It's a Wonderful Knife, where like 5 minutes in, I'm like, oh, please don't tell me this is gonna be the whole thing. And sure enough, yeah, it was. I'm just sitting there like, oh man, this is hilarious, but this is not good. This is not good. Granted, we saw this super early. As of when I'm recording this, the current critic consensus is like 92% with critics, which to me is asinine. Take it with a grain of salt. And like I said, they're not all great reviews. But Founders Day is not good. I will say, like, between this and It's a Wonderful Knife, I mean, It's a Wonderful Knife has more quality in it by a slim margin. But this is probably more entertaining only because it's worse. What are the positives? What did I put down? Some cast members in this movie are trying to hold it together. Out of all the characters that don't do their job or make interesting choices, the ones that are just acting, they're doing all right. There's some actors in this movie that are trying to hold it together. I don't hate the lead necessarily, and I don't know, the Russ guy, he's fine in his role. Like, what else did I put as a positive? The killer's weapon is kind of neat. I didn't even bother with, I don't have anything patriotic or political to wear. I don't even feel like making the effort for this movie. I'm not going to put on what the killer has, which is like, by the way, I think uninspired. It's just like judicial robes and a white wig. Frankly, a shitty mask. I don't like the killer's mask in this. It's just, The mask in Thanksgiving made sense because it was founding guy for the town or one of the OG pilgrims or whatever. John Carver, I think John Carver. So it made sense to have that mask. This is just like a weird, distorted, like half melted black eye, whole mouth. It's weird, but I did put that the killer's weapon is kind of neat because it's a gavel, like a. But then if you press a button on it, a little like knife blade comes out the bottom. So then he can either, you know, blunt bash their head in, or he can and go stab, stab, and so it's a gavel with a knife in it. That's kind of creative, I suppose. I don't think it's executed as well as some critics think, but the film does have a lot to say from like a political commentary aspect. It's a horror slasher film, but it's all on the basis of like politics in the middle of this campaign, the new versus the old forms of government, and then how people come into office and how people can either be healthy about it, or if they're not healthy and they're toxic, they can treat their families poorly, and they're so worried about their self-image and how to get like the votes and how to get the sway of the people, yada yada yada. Sure, that's all well and good, but I guess if we're gonna hop right into the cons here of this movie, with its dialogue and its messaging about the political side of all this, is immensely heavy-handed in the script and the acting and what happens in the film. They're just bashing you over the head, being like, look at this, do you get it, do you see what we mean, yeah, huh, politics ain't what it's cracked up to be, is it, sonny boy? And then just appreciate the creatives for wanting to try to get that message across. I think it's executed extremely poorly. The overall acting in this film, like if we're grading the class on an average, I mean, it's below. This is why I said it's funny. There's characters, this one guy, I forget the actor's name, but this one guy, like, just this white angry guy who's like, just yells at his family and yells anybody who crosses him, he's like, and just like, he's literally, this man is literally a cartoon character. He is a caricature of a human being.
Don't you dare lecture me about Founders Day.
And a bunch of people in this film act this way, and it would be fine if the film didn't take itself so goddamn seriously. But this film, as far as I can tell, for the most part, aside from maybe some mild comedic relief, this film is not a comedy, and this film is not trying to be as such. So all this stuff comes off as either melodramatic or cartoonishly ridiculous. And the guy that I just mentioned, I love it. At one point, toward the tail end of the film, he has a scene where I swear to God, the only way I can describe what his character devolves into, it's as if Richard Nixon was trying to do an impression of Heath Ledger's Joker. I can't put it any other way. This man is trying to talking to his political opposing candidate or whatever, and he's just like, and don't forget the blood, it's on your hands. Like, it's insane. A couple of veteran actors in here that are doing the best they can to hold it together. Some of the newcomers are taking their role seriously, but there are some kids, there's two complete just shithead, basically like fornicating in the high school hallways, and they're just saying the most cringy dialogue. I could get into everybody, but I won't because it would take too much time. But most of the people, you got like high school student, friend of one of the people who's also in the middle of being broken up with, and then having to like deal with watching them be a couple, and he just keeps watching them from the background, like Bruce Wayne watching That Date in the Rain, or like Michael Myers or something. So many of these people don't act or talk like human beings, and if you're drinking and making fun of it, it's hilarious. But if you're trying to invest yourself in this horror slasher, it is so ridiculous and just like silly. The music in this film is one of those soundtracks that feels like you're watching a soap opera. Creepy music leading up to a scare, or if, you know, characters are arguing about their relationship and you have the piano, you know what I'm talking about. But the music is just like, it's almost like stock soundtrack music, or just something very generic that was whipped up. I noticed it enough to notice that it's not great. At the beginning of the film, and like the one scene in the middle and then the end credits, at first I think they're gonna go 80s, right? Because they have some like 80s stylized credits and lighting in a way, and the music is kind of like a synth track inspiration, but then they don't embrace that. They just like, tonally and thematically, it's just the movie's everywhere. The kills and the effects Again, coming off of something as good as Thanksgiving, where the practical effects were great, there was very rarely CGI, it was brutal, bloody, gory, you saw the kills, they were creative. That was top tier in terms of recent memory. Even It's a Wonderful Knife, mostly knife-based slashes, stabs, one cool electrocution kill, but even the kills in that were better than the ones in this. You can tell the budget wasn't there because when the kills happen, it's mostly off camera. Here's what you can especially tell, like one of the first kills, someone gets bludgeoned, it's all Foley work off camera, and then you barely see the body. And then at some point, somebody gets stabbed right in the forehead, and that is clearly CG, with like, I think even CG, like little blood dripping down or something, just a quick little stab. Okay. For a movie to be rated R and not show you the gruesomeness, there's like one kill, one guy gets his face cut up a lot, but while it's happening, again, it doesn't show you anything going on too much while it's happening, just the actor reacting to it and the sound of slashing and blood splattering, the visual, and then you see the messed up face in the afterwards, in the aftermath. The budget constraints, or maybe it's just the lack of care, I don't know, but it bleeds through and it shows, and as a slasher fan, that's not it. There's just no creativity, and I'm sure you could have done a whole bunch of dumb creative kills with politics, you know, oh, shoving the victim's head in a ballot box, or votes down your throat, or they don't even have the killer leave behind political puns. It's all like little like roses are red, violets are blue, I killed your friend and now I'll kill you too, or something stupid. I want to say one of the worst throat slits I've seen in my life I saw in this film, which was just somebody basically lightly dragging a plastic blade across the throat and leaving behind like just clearly a paint trail of blood. Like, no, just it did not look good. This movie's ridiculous, like character decisions and actions and what people do and say and how they react to each other. They're all cartoons, and especially the adults and the two. Again, I'm sure that's the point, saying, oh, these two political candidates, they're just like man-childs, or they're just kids that are trying to manipulate the public to vote for them. Cool, I get it, but I don't know. I feel like this movie tonally did not know where it was. I mean, it's filmed well enough, cameras, the film looks not like terrible, like it looks like a decent level of production. It's not completely unredeemable, but in terms of like, this is coming out in like 8-9 days, would I recommend going to see it? No. Do not waste your time or money going to see this in a theater. You wait till it's either streamable or until it's like $4 to rent and you can split that cost with your friends. Like, don't waste your time and money to see Founders Day. Go if you want a fun, violent slasher film, especially for like a seasonal holiday one. As I've said numerous times now, watch Thanksgiving instead. If I'm being generous, I would give Founders Day a high 2 out of 5. A high 2 out of 5. Yeah, I mean, it's not even below average. It's just a film that has just enough redeeming qualities to it where I couldn't call it complete dog poo-poo. It might have some interesting things it wants to say about politics. It does have some entertainment value. It's got some performances that I will admit are certainly memorable, but I can't in good conscience and in good faith recommend it. It's not a great movie. That's all I gotta say about Founders Day, though. Again, I hate shitting on movies, but I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. So stay tuned for the next movie, whatever movie review I do. And goodbye, travelers.